Stranger Things has always been a show about more than just supernatural monsters and interdimensional threats. At its core, it's a story about growing up under extraordinary circumstances and the lasting impact those experiences leave on its characters. One of the most compelling but sometimes overlooked themes in the series is how the characters deal with reintegrating into ordinary life after trauma that no one else can fully understand. This is what I want to explore today: the weight of ordinary life after extraordinary trauma, and how Stranger Things portrays the quiet, ongoing battle of healing in a world that demands normalcy. From the very beginning, Stranger Things grounds its supernatural chaos in the messy, often painful realities of adolescence. The kids are not just fighting monsters from the upside down, they're also navigating friendships, family dynamics, and the uncertainty of growing up. But what happens when the immediate threat recedes? When the portals close and the world expects everyone to move on? This transition from crisis mode to the slow daily grind of recovery is rarely straightforward or easy. Yet it's a crucial part of the story's emotional landscape. Take Eleven, for example. Her journey is perhaps the most vivid illustration of this theme. After escaping the lab and the horrors of her past, Eleven is thrust into a new life with the Byers family, and later, the return to Hawkins Middle School. But the trauma she endured doesn't simply vanish. The scars she carries, both physical and emotional, are invisible to those around her. She struggles with identity, trust, and belonging, all while trying to appear like any other teenager. Her challenges underscore a harsh truth. Surviving trauma isn't about a dramatic victory over it. It's about managing its lingering effects day after day. Similarly, Mike, Will, and the rest of the group face their own versions of this post-traumatic reality. Will Byers, in particular, embodies the difficulty of reintegration. After his harrowing time trapped in the Upside Down, Will returns home but remains haunted by what he experienced. The show uses his character to highlight how trauma can persist silently, manifesting as anxiety, flashbacks, or feelings of isolation. The pressure to act normal, to perform the expected roles of son, friend, and student, only compounds this internal struggle. Stranger Things doesn't shy away from showing how trauma affects relationships as well. The bonds between characters are tested not just by external threats, but by the emotional fallout of what they've endured. For example, the dynamic between Eleven and Mike reflects the push and pull of intimacy after trauma. Trust is fragile, and communication is often fraught because the memories and fears each carries are difficult to share or even fully comprehend. This relational complexity adds a layer of realism to the narrative, reminding us that healing is not a linear process and that trauma reshapes how people connect. Another important aspect is how the series portrays the societal pressure to suppress trauma in favor of normalcy. Hawkins, a small town with its own secrets, symbolizes the broader cultural tendency to ignore or minimize uncomfortable truths. After the initial shocks, the town's adults largely want to pretend nothing happened, to return to routine and stability. This denial mirrors real-world attitudes toward trauma survivors, who often face skepticism or misunderstanding. The show critiques this by illustrating the consequences of unresolved trauma left unacknowledged on both individual and community levels. What makes Stranger Things' exploration of trauma so compelling is its refusal to depict survival as an endpoint. Instead, survival marks the beginning of a different kind of battle, one fought internally. The characters don't just need to defeat monsters, they need to deal with memory, loss, and the search for meaning in the aftermath. This ongoing struggle is sometimes quieter but no less intense. The series also highlights resilience, but in a nuanced way. Resilience isn't about bouncing back to who you were before. It's about adapting to a new reality shaped by pain and change. Characters like Eleven and Will show that resilience involves vulnerability, persistence, and sometimes accepting that healing is imperfect. They teach us that scars, though invisible, are part of who they are, and that strength often lies in embracing that complexity. In sum, Stranger Things uses its supernatural framework to delve deeply into the psychological and emotional dimensions of trauma and recovery. By focusing on what happens after the monsters retreat, the series expands its narrative beyond thrilling battles to explore the human cost of survival. It reminds thoughtful fans that sometimes the hardest monsters are the ones inside us, lingering long after the Upside Down closes. This theme enriches Stranger Things as a coming-of-age story, making it resonate on a profoundly emotional level. It challenges viewers to consider how trauma shapes identity, relationships, and the very act of moving forward. And it offers a poignant reflection on resilience, not as a heroic finale, but as an ongoing journey. Thank you for joining me in this exploration, the weight of ordinary life after extraordinary trauma. As we continue to follow the characters of Stranger Things, let's keep in mind that their greatest battles might be the ones we can't see, fought silently in the shadows of memory and loss. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this commentary, stay tuned for more to come.